Hi, welcome to Jazzin It Up, where I, Ethan Blakely, spend the next couple minutes just boring you with random things I want to talk about. And this week, that just happens to be Millennials. You know, I'm not gonna spend too much time. I'm just gonna cover real briefly, because this is a school assignment, so that's what you're going to get. But Millennials, I mean, you may know them, you may love them, you may hate them, they might be your mom. But they're essentially just anyone born within, these years, 80, 83 to about 90, 2000, around that time frame. It's not something that's really agreed upon, and so different sources will give you different years, but it's roughly, early 80s to, the mid 90s. So that would put me, born in 99, Gen Z. And then we have Alpha and whatnot. Anyhow, let's get to it. All right, so we have attitudes. These are attitudes that, may be stereotypical, but these are usually how the generations sort of define and how they have attitudes towards things. So, we have the negative aspects, is that they're often, described as lazy and narcissistic. They're less involved in politics, and they have very materialistic values, compared to, the Gen X and the Boomers at the same age. And on the materialistic values and the narcissistics, the Millennials themselves also describe themselves as that, not in a negative way, but they're more individual, self-dependent, and they do see themselves as valuing popularity and money and clothing more than, say, the older generations did. On that, we also have the positive aspects, how their attitudes. They're more open-minded, especially towards gay rights and all that. They're more confident and authentic, and they're open to new ideas. And this kind of ties back into the gay rights and the equal rights of, peeps. But they're also seen as more sociable. They're a very sociable generation. They like to get out there and meet people, talk to people. Then here's just general facts. They're better educated than previous generations. The statistics that I found place around 40% with a bachelor's degree compared to 30% of the generation that came before. There's roughly a 10% increase in college graduates, which is, in my opinion, a great thing to have increase. As compared to the older generations, they're less likely to be religious. There does seem to be a common trend of, over time, religion kind of moves aside. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but it just happens to be that way. So far, they are the largest generation in the workforce, numbering around 56 million. There's a lot of them. I mean, on a planet of 7 billion people, it shouldn't be surprising. And with that, Millennials, they prefer flexible hours, and they like to have relationships, personal. They like to get to know their bosses, and that can kind of tie in with the flexible hours. Is that Millennials aren't working for the boss man. They're there. They're using their time. It should be more of a tit for tat thing. If they give you their time, and they want to build up the relationship, their employer should be understanding and be, not to control them as just an employee, but more as a person on a whole. Defining events of the Millennials, we have the internet, and that's a big one. Come the 90s, we get Google, we get Facebook, we get, social media, and that's a big thing. And with that, we get the sharing of information. And, the millennials, being a very sociable class, they tend to share a lot of information. They like to be on the social networks. You have the first legalization of same-sex marriage, and that kind of ties into being very liberal. They're more open to these ideas. They went through the Obama administration, which basically legalized a lot of the stuff that hadn't been seen for ever. Yeah, really. On a more negative side, they did have to grow up. They were adults, come the 90s and the early 2000s. So on a negative side, you do get school shootings. You had the big one. I can't think of its name at the moment. and you have 9/11 and the resulting war on terrorism, and that really that kind of defines the generation. You also have the recession. This was 2008, so early Obama era. And this can really, that's a big defining moment that really sort of exemplifies the generation. And that's it. It wasn't much, but that's millennials for you in a very brief, short explanation. So thank you for joining me. This has been Jazzing It Up with me, Ethan. Hi. And well, that's about it for this week. Join us never, because this won't be happening again. All right.